Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, helping you to find jargon-free information before choosing a professional to help solve your problems and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Retirement conversation. And during this segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so pleased, I'm over the moon, I'm skipping, jumping and hopping and smiling all over my face like a Cheshire cat, as we say in England, because we finally have John Savin, owner of Savin Wealth Management, and he's calling in all the way from Boca Raton. Now, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'll ask John in just a minute. But anyway, John is here today to talk about a very interesting topic. John's taking the time out of his busy day to come and talk to us about protecting your income from a disability. So, if you are one of the many people in the Boca Raton area who may have accumulated a significant asset base in your company 401k plan, maxed out your annual IRA contributions, and you're now at that stage in your life where you're wanting to secure your financial independence, then if that sounds like you, it might be a good idea just to stop what you're doing. You may even want to grab a notepad and pen and get ready to take some notes as we listen in to what John has to share with us today. So with that said, let's not keep him waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much, Stuart. I appreciate being here.
You are so welcome. Now, firstly, did I get the pronunciation right? Is it Boca Raton or Boca Raton?
Boca Raton.
Boca Raton. Okay, I will try to remember that. Anyway, John, we have a brief amount of time together, 15, 20 minutes, so let's make the best use of that short time. So briefly, in your own words, please describe the kinds of people who you help and the various types of situations that they find themselves in when they come to you for your assistance.
Great, thank you. So we serve as the wealth management command center, so to speak, for professional practice business owners that are in the medical, accounting, and technology industries. They're service-oriented, very family-focused individuals that are typically in their 30s to 50s. Early in their careers, they spent a lot of time and money building a business, at a sacrifice to their financial security. Now in their peak earning years, and with family priorities to care for, these people have realized that one of the most valuable assets that they have is the ability to earn an income. And if they suddenly became ill or injured and could not work in their occupation, their financial house, any future plans, and everything around it, so to speak, could crumble. The reality that in a short period of time, without cash flow coming in and not being financially independent, their family's security and future is essentially at risk.
Okay, thanks for sharing that with us, John. Now that we have an idea of who you help, it goes without saying that anything you share with us from this point on today is not legal advice or legal assistance. It's purely for the purpose of disseminating information. Now, would you just care to expand on that in your own words so we're absolutely clear then, please, John?
Yes, absolutely. First off, anyone should seek the advice of a professional, and the advice should be personalized to them and their needs, goals, concerns. So today is really just a conversation, just as an awareness and education. It's not specific advice. Fantastic.
Thanks for sharing that with us, John. So with that said, when you think about those people who you've just described, the ones that come to you for your help, what's the most common misconception you come across while you're out there helping those people on a day-to-day basis?
Well, usually I hear around 2 to 3 common misconceptions, about purchasing, disability income insurance and protecting your income. If they're on the younger end of the age spectrum, it's usually, they have I call it the S on their chest syndrome. I'm Superman, I'm in great shape, I'm healthy, I have health insurance. What's the chances of me becoming, disabled? It's probably very low.
Right.
The other misconception usually relates to the fact that They feel the cost of insurance is unaffordable, and what if I never get disabled throughout my life? I just made a mistake spending all that money on premiums and didn't get to use the benefit. So the affordability factor they feel is an issue. Mm-hmm. Lastly, on occasion, I hear that I have a group policy through work, Social Security, disability will take care of me, or I have workers' compensation. These are all misconceptions that I feel are through a lack of education and true awareness of this particular type of income insurance.
Well, let's look at that last misconception that you just shared with us, John. I have a program through work. What would be the repercussions of that? Somebody who has that misconception, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Well, if they have a group insurance at work,
mm-hmm.
typically, first off, the employer is reaping the tax benefits because they're the one that's paying it for the employees. The biggest problem would be the amount of coverage of your income that you'd receive. Typically, a group policy covers, let's just say 60% of your income, of your gross income. Mm-hmm. But then you forget there's taxes. And so before you know it, you're coming home with maybe 40% of your gross income. And you have to ask yourself, can I afford to live? Can I pay my bills? Can I still fund my future retirement? Can I pay for my child's college? Can I pay to enjoy myself? So you have to ask yourself, can I actually afford to live on such a small amount? So that's a very big challenge that I've seen, where the amount of coverage that you're receiving is not going to be suitable to fund your current lifestyle. And depending on how long your disability is, the average disability can be over 30 months long. Just look at what impact that could have negatively on your family and future, mm-hmm. presently and down the road. And also, with regards to workers' comp,
mm-hmm.
roughly 90% of disabilities are from illness, not injury. And they don't happen at work, where workers' compensation is what it's meant for.
Right. So based on those challenges that you just shared with us, can you please just expand on that and share somewhat of a case study or an example of how you have helped somebody, or even how you would go about helping somebody who came to you with any of those misconceptions you just described, and what kind of transformational results you were able to, or in general, would be able to gain for them. And obviously, keep in mind to keep your client's confidentiality in mind. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So let's take an example for a physician that's making over $200,000 a year. First and foremost, to overcome these types of objections, it has to come through education. Remember, the clients that I work with, they run businesses, and they're very focused on their family. They're focused on their career, and many times, they get their information from unreliable resources. And the lack of quality guidance and expectations can truly be fixed with a straightforward dose of reality and statistics, along with a review of what they currently have at work. So, if a doctor has a group disability at work, the first thing we would do is let's take a look at your policy and break it down to dollars and cents for that individual. We also want to take a deeper dive into that individual's life. What are your expenses, to pay for your household? What are your expenses for any future goals that you may have? How much do you want to put away for retirement? We want to dig deep into the actual numbers and what's truly important for that individual. And typically, when we can customize an individual policy for that doctor, we go from 60% coverage minus out all the taxes to now he or she can potentially have 70% coverage, and it's tax-free because they're the one that's actually paying for the policy. And that's a huge difference in income protection to the individual. And it just takes, like I said, it takes customization and finding out what's important for that individual, how much coverage, how much money is actually needed in income, because many times a doctor might make $400,000 a year. They might not necessarily need the coverage for that monthly amount. Maybe it is less. Now, obviously, we can't cover 100%. Otherwise, if someone's disabled, why would you ever want to go back to work?
Yeah, sure.
But a big thing that we have done is we can customize the policy to give them a much higher percentage coverage rate, and it would be tax-free since they're the ones that are paying it and not the employer.
Well, these are really great insights that you're sharing with us today, John. So thank you so much for being so open and honest with us. So let me just take a moment to remind our guests. Today we have wealth advisor John Savin, owner of Savin Wealth Management in Boca Raton, and he's here today talking about protecting your income from a disability. Now, with that in mind, John, and for those people who are wanting to secure their financial independence and they're listening in right now, what's one of the many pitfalls, and I'm sure there are so many that you could share with us, but what are one or two of the pitfalls or misguided truths that they need to be aware of, no matter what situation they find themselves in?
Well, I think the lack of understanding of their own personal finances. You have to ask yourself, what happens if I'm disabled for 3 months? Do I have the money set aside to cover all my expenses? I think the biggest pitfall that I see is a lack of understanding of their own personal finances and not realizing the severity of what a disability can do to your household and to your livelihood. So setting aside a couple of $1,000s is not going to do it when the average disability can be over 30 months long. Take a deep dive into what you have and take it very seriously. And that I think is a big misconception is a lack of that.
I get a sense that what you do, John, as good as it is, as useful as it is, as necessary as it is for financial planning and looking towards your future and having secure financial independence, let me ask you this. Is it somewhat of a really tough sale in terms of human nature? Because human nature, we tend to be more proactive when things go wrong as opposed to preventing things going wrong. What's your experience there then, John?
Absolutely. Most people don't want to accept the fact that at any given time, an illness or injury can occur. We typically take that, put your head in the sand mentality, and just think it's not going to happen. We also make, many excuses that we're too busy in our lives to even think about doing this. So with disability and also with death, it's a hard topic to talk about, because we just, obviously death is a finality. We don't want to talk about that.
Right.
But most people, they're more reactive than proactive. But I think if you really look at what the damage could be, what the impact could be if you don't have income coming in for even just 1 month. It's, your wife or your husband might still be working, but if you're disabled, your expenses will essentially go up.
Mm-hmm.
You start using your credit cards more, bills get paid late, now your credit score gets impacted. Maybe you can't save as much for the future, for college, for travel, whatever those family priorities are. So taking a proactive approach, although challenging and uncomfortable, just in the long run, that preparation and peace of mind just relieves so much stress.
So, John, I'm kind of curious, without going into your background, because we're going to speak about that later, but just briefly, how many years have you been a practicing wealth advisor?
I started in 2001. So it's going on, it'll be 17 years next month.
Okay, so when you think back over those years, at 17 years, you must have helped a tremendous amount of people in that span of time. But when you think about those people that you have helped to create that transformation that they were looking for, the ones that you've helped to secure their financial independence. What does it give you on a deep down personal level? And how does that all make you feel, John?
Oh my God, the feeling is just incredible. It's just to have a client. The relationship, first of all, is a tremendous. I love it. That's why I do this, because I truly do love helping people. So just for a customer or a client or even someone I just gave information to, when I get a phone call back from them and just say, John, thank you so much. You really opened my eyes up and helped me out. This happened recently or that happened, a few years ago. I mean, this is why I wake up every day,
right?
To help others. So, if I wasn't doing, if that wasn't my motivation, there'd be no reason to do this. And the thing is, I practice what I preach. I have a young family. I'm 44 years old, and I wouldn't recommend or guide someone if I wasn't going to take my own advice. I live exactly how I guide people.
So let's talk a little bit about your background then, John. What led you to this field? What's your backstory? And share a little bit about your formal education and especially your experience as it relates to the topic of wealth management.
So over the course of my 17 years, I've obtained many different licenses in the industry to help me provide better service to my customers. But my career started out. I've always been in the service-oriented industry. I've been involved in the health industry and also in the real estate industry. And I just felt like I was helping everybody with things that are very important. And their health, obviously, is very important. Their home is a great asset for them. It's where they make memories. But wealth management, to me, that's the backbone of everyone's dreams and goals is their finances. So I got into this industry actually because I saw the struggles my parents were having when my father was still working, and he was worried about accumulating enough assets to fund him and my mother's retirement. So that kind of motivated me to go out there and get educated. I'm a big advocate of leveraging resources and learning from people who have been there before me. And I took that hunger, and I learned everything I possibly could. I surrounded myself with people I trusted, and over the course of 17 years, I've obtained all these other licenses to be that trusted advisor for my clients. But yeah, I started out because of the motivation I saw, from the fear of my parents. It really it sparked me.
Okay, John, thanks for sharing that with us. I'm so glad that you've come onto the show and shared so many great insights with our listeners. So for those people who are out there and listening in right now and they are wanting to protect their income from a possible disability, what final thoughts would you like to share with them before we finish up with our last question for today?
I would say when you wake up every day and you get ready to go to work, who is waiting in the doorway waving goodbye to you? If it's your husband, your wife, your children, they rely on your ability to earn a living for their security, for their financial well-being, for all their dreams. The car you get in, you have insurance on. The home you live in, you have insurance on. We even have insurance for our cell phones and for travel. Why in the world would you not insure the one thing that allows you to pay for all of that, your income? Don't make excuses. Get educated. The severity of losing your income causes a major snowball effect and negative impact. Talk to a professional if you don't know, but don't procrastinate on it, because it can happen to all of us at any time, no matter how old or how young you are. Disability is not just getting injured. It's cancer, it's nervous disorders, it's musculoskeletal disorders, it's cardiovascular, it's things that most of us never think of. So that would be my tip, is look at who relies on you and understand how important it is that you're able to earn an income and insure it just like you would insure your life and all the other things I just mentioned. Death is final. It's horrible and it's painful, but it's a one-time event. If you lose your income, it could be for a month or it could be a lifetime. Don't be unprotected.
Well, John, I'm just sitting here listening to you, and I'm sure that anybody else who's listening to you is going to take that on board. You just put it together so succinctly. And even though I said it was our final question, while you was sharing that great insight with us, it made me think about those people who, even though after listening to you and see the sense in what you've been sharing, still to themselves think, I'm just too busy to do this. So with that said, John, how long would this whole process of protecting their incomes from a disability take?
It's only a couple of phone calls. The phone calls would just to be getting to know you a lot better, getting to know the individual a lot better. Mm. I have a team of professionals, a wonderful team that has been helping me and working side by side with me with all my clients for years. And it shouldn't take you more than a month to get this all said and done. And it's just a couple of conversations because we want to make sure that we truly understand you and your needs, your family's needs, and putting together the best policy possible. We will look out for your best interest. We don't want you just to have a policy that doesn't make sense. It has to absolutely fit you. And it's worth the couple of conversations to facilitate that. So busy, we're all busy at times, but
right.
Allocate a couple of hours to schedule times to talk, and busy is irrelevant.
You're right.
In the big picture.
Absolutely. And especially when you think about that image of who you're waving to when you leave your house in the morning. I think that's a great analogy. So, John, finally, if someone feels they want to know more about securing their financial independence, as well as protecting their income from a disability, how can they connect with you? Where would they find you?
First off, you can give me a phone call. That's always the best way. I'd rather hear your voice, talk to you on the phone. My phone number direct is 561-409-5149. If you'd rather send me an email, send it direct to john@savinwealth.com. And lastly, if you want to visit our website, it's www.savinwealth.com. I'd be glad to help.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us, John. And I'll also make sure that your contact details are on the website. However, that's all we have time for today. I just really feel that you're just beginning to scratch the tip of the iceberg with the amount of insights that you could share. However, we are limited by time. So once more, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we have been listening to wealth advisor John Savin. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, John. You have certainly, in the short amount of time that we've had together, you have certainly demonstrated that you are a true educator, advocate, and trustworthy advisor for your clients' success. So thank you.
Thank you, Stewart. My pleasure.
You are so welcome, my friend. And I'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to you. Yes, our listeners. Without you, we wouldn't have anybody to speak to. We'd just be sat here twiddling our thumbs, so it wouldn't make any sense. So thank you for joining us on this very insightful and informative discussion with one of the top wealth advisors in the Boca Raton area today. Again, his name is John Savin. Make sure you do check him out, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a call. He shared his phone number. Visit his website. There are some great resources on there. So whatever you do decide to do, I am absolutely convinced that after listening to John for just a short amount of time today, that you're certainly going to be in a good place to get started. So that's it for today, folks. Another show's over and done with. Again, as a reminder, my name is Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading wealth management professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Retirement Conversations. So, until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.